Pleased to be joined by our insider, Chris Johnston, and senior columnist, Mark Spector, as we talk about fans, the possibility of fans in the seats in the Canadian marketplace as the NHL season rolls on. And gentlemen, we've seen some fans finally being able to sit down at Madison Square Garden in New York and in T-Mobile Arena in Vegas and a number of other venues in the United States trickling in small percentages, which begs the question, when would fans possibly get that opportunity to sit and watch a live NHL game? Let's start with you, Mark.
Well, it's clearly a decision that will be up to the local provincial health authorities across the country. Here in Edmonton, the story leaked out on the weekend that the Edmonton Oilers are already sort of building the document, Dave, to bring to the Alberta Health Services. That's, to basically prepare Alberta Health Services to say, they've got a pretty good plan here. Maybe we can move forward the time that we had set. We thought that perhaps we could have some people at a hockey game. Maybe that can come a little bit closer. When that time's going to be, we're not sure. The Oilers have proposed, look, we've done this before. We ran the bubble in the playoffs very successfully, no problem. We ran the World Junior very successfully, no problem. What we'd like to do, the Oilers are saying, is they'd like to get 15% of Rogers Place. That's a building that seats about 18,400. We're talking about 2,750 people in that cavernous building. So they've got it set up, the Oilers do, with a lot of confidence that they've succeeded at this before, guys, but the final authority here comes from the health body for sure.
Well, and this story sort of comes at an interesting time, Mark, because, the league has actually now just reached a point where 17 teams are having fans. And so you were just a little bit more than half. Obviously all of those teams are based currently in the United States, but it feels a little bit like we're moving towards a tipping point slowly and surely. Now, the vaccine has not been rolled out in Canada nearly to the degree we've seen south of the border. That's going to affect what happens. And my sort of unofficial poll of other teams around Canada is I don't get the feeling that they feel that they're maybe as close to this as Edmonton is. And we don't even truly know how close the Oilers are. But, there is a feeling in the other Canadian markets, when it happens in Canada, Edmonton will be first. For a lot of the reasons of what Mark said there, because they've, established a good relationship. They've established a track record of doing things safely. And, they're already working on this. The Ottawa Senators, for example, went to the provincial government in Ontario with a plan back in December. Well, that got nowhere, and I don't think it's progressed since. And so, we're looking to Alberta to lead the way here with the Canadian teams. I don't want to make any predictions at this point in time, but I do think it's very possible we play out the rest of the season and the playoffs in Canada without fans, although we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, I guess it's a very fluid situation, and I appreciate you're taking the prudent approach there, CJ, but I have to, wonder how it will change things for the teams. Right now there doesn't seem to be a discernible home ice advantage. The Leafs go into Edmonton and win back-to-back games, shutting out the Oilers in a very quiet atmosphere without fans. You have to imagine it would feel very different with some fans in all these different arenas in these intense, countrywide rivalries, CJ.
Well, there's no home ice advantage. Let's call it as it is. Having been to a number of these games in person this season, even in the bubble, we saw this. It's a lot of what we sort of come to think of an atmosphere that could influence referees, that could influence momentum shifts within a game. All that's out the window. And I think one interesting question the NHL, at the risk of getting way ahead of myself, is going to have to ask itself is that if we can't get to a point where there's fans in Canadian buildings and, we get to the third round of the playoffs and one team's won its way out of the North Division, how do you work that out? Obviously there's been some talk about moving that team to a U.S. city, but, could the winner of the North Division, be playing in a hostile, quote unquote, visiting arena and more of a neutral site arena for their home games? I know it's something the league's working on, and it's going to be interesting. I should say too quickly that I was talking to a GM that was recently at a game with fans for the first time in the last week here, and he said he was stunned. I think there was about 2,000 in the building, like how much different it was than at zero, like that it actually made it more exciting, and you could hear it, you could feel it again. And so even a small amount of fans, I think, will make a difference in these buildings.
Well, and I think, we tend to forget, gentlemen, because there's such a love for the game, that this is a big business and people are in this business to actually turn a profit at some point. The National Hockey League is expected to lose somewhere around $2 billion this year. So to just like any small yoga studio or gym or restaurant, this is a business that would like to start to turn the environment towards perhaps one day making $1 again. I know we don't cry poor for hockey players and owners. I get that. But this really, from the NHL standpoint, is a step towards beginning to get some ticket revenue, beginning to sell a hot dog and sell a parking spot and sell a couple of beers. Listen, we know pro sports is all about money, and there's not enough coming in hockey right now.
Well, we're not even 2 months into the season, gentlemen. And one thing I'll say is we started the year with just a handful of arenas allowing a spattering of fans in. And now we're up to, as CJ said, 17 different venues allowing some level of fans into the game. So we'll see where this takes us over the next weeks and months. Thanks so much, CJ and Mark Spector.